There's some movies which I consider a bad movie. I mean, they're bad, but they have some redeeming qualities which make the film just a bit more memorable. One clear example is Batman vs. Superman. It was a shit movie, but I doubt you forgot about it, especially since we ended up getting...
Find him! Save Martha! Why did you say that name?
Then there was Justice League, which was also a pretty bad movie, but there were times where I laughed at how bad it was. And then there was Superman's CGI'd mustache. However, there's good movies out there that don't represent a box office success. A good example is Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void, which was basically a goddamn psychedelic fever dream that was basically the director's art drama project. Well, it was his dream project basically, and goddammit it worked. Not to mention that the introduction scene was very iconic and unique as a whole. I mean, not everyone makes a credit scene like this, and because of that, that was easily one of the best parts of the movie. Then there's movies that are successful all around. Box office success, critical success, and more importantly, you can watch this shit over and over again and you won't get tired of it. One clear example, Shrek 2, which is proven to be better than its predecessor, Shrek 1, of course, and has one of the most legendary scenes of modern animation even today, the one you're watching right now. And then it got fucked over in Shrek 3, all of it. Why did you make Shrek 3 DreamWorks? It was disgusting. So yeah, there are different kinds of movies out there. And really, I'm a pretty lax guy when it comes to these kinds of movies. I can take entertainment out of a lot of them. And if I can watch an Asylum movie and watch Three-Headed Shark Attack and say, hey, that movie was pretty entertaining, I was thoroughly entertained by it, then you can bet my standards for movies are pretty low. And then there's this fucking movie. I seriously don't know how they fucked this up so badly. It makes The Room look like Monty Python by comparison, and that says a lot. Everything about this movie was terrible. The interviews, the press conferences, the domestic returns on its opening day, the media attention, the film itself, fucking everything. Somehow they couldn't even get basic proper filmmaking right, and I don't even know much about filmmaking. Fucking ridiculous. Where do I even start with this piece of shit? So apparently, before the film was released, Elizabeth Banks, the film's director, who also happens to play one of the characters in the film, touted this movie as a very feminist film. Now let me say this, you're full of shit, Liz. If you're going to make a movie which is tainted by your own political and social agenda, then you bet your ass that will fail to high hell. Because who in their right fucking mind wants to go into a cinema to have a point beaten into their brains for 2 hours straight? Name one, Liz! Stop trying to manipulate and guilt people to watching this film because of your stupid choices. You actually repel people when you try to mess with them on the social spectrum, you resentful wretch. And this isn't the first time she'll be doing this shit, by the way. Of course, this was only just the tip of the iceberg. This film barely got an advertising budget after Sony cut their expenses to promote this show to the masses for exposure. About time you did a right executive decision, Sony. Still doesn't change that you greenlighted this garbage. I only got to learn about this movie from YouTube ads, as well as occasional ads which I found lurking about in Wikia pages. I want you to let that sink in for a second. Advertising a film on YouTube is one of the worst marketing decisions you could make, period. YouTube is a goddamn place where people skip ads once the 5 seconds are up, and if the ads are unskippable, then chances are they're gonna reload the entire page and hope they're lucky. What makes you think that they're gonna have the patience to slog through a film trailer, let alone a trailer for Charlie's Angels? Needless to say, this film went by very unnoticed. But they weren't prepared for the shitstorm that was to be. And then there were the interviews. We all
talk about the male gaze a lot, and the male gaze, how sort of unintentional the motives are. It's not like we're like, we need to empower women.
I think women can do anything.
We need to empower women. Got it!
So like, yeah, it was a box office failure and a critical failure. It now has 4.1 out of 10 on IMDb. It has 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's 52% on Metacritic. Pretty mediocre scores. And it only managed to make past its budget, so it was safe to assume that it was a major flop. And Miss Liz here was triggered.
My real plea is for men to have enough empathy to go see movies starring women. Because I've been asked to go see movies starring men my entire life, and happily have done so. And I don't know why men don't return the fucking favor.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
So yeah, now she's effectively blaming men for why the film flopped to high hell, and it's just great. It's nice to see her blaming everyone else other than herself for failures like these. That's just so like every feminist in the modern age. She should be lucky that she made her budget back, honestly. I thought this film was going to be so bad financially that it was going to be on par with Enter the Void, which was a way better film than this pile of shit, but unfortunately was a box office disaster. What a shame. At least Gaspar won awards for his dream project. What's Liz getting? Goddamn spine and a bad track record for movies. She made Pitch Perfect 2, Movie 43, all these terrible movies. And they picked her to be the one responsible for reviving a franchise that should have been dead long ago? Just fuck off, man! So the film stars the bitch that fucked the vampire from Twilight, the princess that didn't want to be silenced from the Aladdin remake, and yeah, I don't know who she is. Turns out that Elena, who's the girl I have no clue of, is the super genius that has Stephen Hawking rolling in his grave. If he could even roll at all.
Fucking kill me, please.
So basically, he makes this invention that apparently provides more sustainable energy. But if you tinker with the thing a bit, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction that fries people's brains or something like that. What the fuck? Really, the plot is just all over the place, and it's clear that they're trying to be so social justice warrior about this whole thing. The bad guys are, of course, white men, which are part of an all-powerful corporation. All the men in the movie are either complete douchebags, or they're totally incompetent, while the women are all pure god queens. Lovely. You can even see this shit in the trailer, where Kristen Stewart was all, "I think all women can do anything."
I think women can do anything.
Like, can you shut the fuck up? The suffragettes didn't fight for the right to vote just for women to do this shit. You paint men in such a bad light, and yet you expect men to watch your stupid movie. Why even? Honestly, everything about this movie felt like a recipe for disaster. This isn't even a movie. It's just a giant piece of propaganda that openly promotes female empowerment in the stupidest way possible. Elizabeth Banks thinks this is the best way to make a feminist film, by making men the powerless ones, while women become the huge supercharged goddesses that will never see wrong in their actions. They always do right, they never do wrong, and if you think women do wrong, you're sexist for doing so. And that's just lame. After I watched Charlie's Angels, I soon came to the realization that this shitty movie was trying to copy what Kingsman: The Secret Service did. The difference was that Kingsman was a good movie, it was a solid action movie, and it was a hilarious comedy film. Charlie's Angels tried to do this, but it was lame and half-assed. It's like they barely even tried. Whoa, super secret weapons room. Whoa, super secret spy organization that the main character somehow lands himself into. Whoa, fast pace. Whoa, violence. Whoa, quirky comedy. Whoa, scenes that are so fast because of the combat scene and they're trying to make it look so badass. Whoa, a piece of technology that somehow, if tinkered, can destroy almost a majority of the world population and cause mass extinction. Whoa. Wow, nice job, Elizabeth Banks. Wow, you're kind of funny. Hey, remember when you said that men direct a majority of movies and you want to be like, I want to make a point where women can like direct movies?
87% of all movies are still directed by men. The main thing I want is to convince executives that they can trust women.
And then you straight up rip off Kingsman, which was directed by a man? Oh, okay, nice job. In conclusion, this movie is shit. It is absolute shit. It is the perfect case study on what not to do when it comes to filmmaking 101. It tries to be a feminist film, but it completely backfires and openly mocks the idea instead. All the characters are one-dimensional, and it's basically screaming out, "We need to empower women!" as quoted by Kristen Stewart. If Elizabeth Banks wanted to prove a point by saying that women can direct movies, well, she did that. But what she didn't prove was that women can make good movies. Now don't get me wrong, women can make good movies. Some examples are The Matrix or Lost in Translation. They're good movies, and they're directed by women. But this one that's directed by a woman is garbage. And it's not surprised because her filmography consists of garbage. So don't say that men need to trust women to make movies. No, men don't need to trust you to make movies. They can trust someone else to make movies that also happen to be women. You are the plague of Hollywood. You and along with the rest of the social justice dreck. If you're trying to prove a point, make a good goddamn movie. This movie is a goddamn plague. But honestly, I can't even call it a movie. It's just social justice dreck. And as Ralph the movie maker quotes,
not a movie. This is just propaganda. And I can't even say I hate this movie, because this isn't a movie. And how can I hate a movie that doesn't exist?
Ah!